My mom made a lucky tea for my 9-year-old daughter before every competition. Drink it, sweetheart, it's good for you, she said warmly. Then she accidentally drank it herself. What happened next changed everything. I didn't know it then. Back then, it was just another Saturday at the Lincoln Community Center Dance Showcase. Glitter everywhere, pop music blasting, parents holding their breath. Not the beginning of a family nightmare that would tear everything apart. They called it Spotlight Dreams. One dancer from each studio would advance to the regional finals in Chicago. Everyone knew it had come down to two girls, my 9-year-old daughter Katrina, and my niece Sophie, my sister Laura's kid. Me? I was relaxed about the whole thing. 9 years old, sparkly tutus, participation trophies, no big deal, right? My mom and Laura though? They were acting like it was the Olympics. Mom arrived early, like always, carrying 2 identical stainless steel thermoses. I made them my special wellness blend, she announced, setting them down on the dressing room table like they were sacred artifacts. Chamomile and honey for clarity and calm. That was her thing. She swore it brought positive energy, balanced the chi, all that stuff. Nobody argued with her about it. Easier to just drink the tea than hurt her feelings. I was backstage helping Katrina with her costume, while Laura hovered around Sophie like a helicopter parent on steroids. Mom floated between us, adjusting hair ribbons, whispering last-minute tips, micromanaging 2 9-year-olds who just wanted to dance. The usual chaos, kids running everywhere, the instructor yelling directions, sequins shedding like snow. This one's for Sophie. This one's for Katrina, Mom said, like she was distributing communion wine. Then Laura called her over to fix a hair elastic. Mom set both thermoses on the bench and walked away. I shifted some bags to make room, just a tiny meaningless movement in all the backstage madness. Didn't even realize I'd switched them. Mom came back, picked one up, and poured Katrina a cup. Drink it, sweetheart. It's good for you, she said. That's when I noticed. Her hands were trembling. Her face looked pale, almost grey. Mom, you're the one who needs it, I joked. You're more nervous than she is. She froze for a second. Her eyes snapped to mine, sharp, almost startled. Laura looked over too, concerned. You're right, Mom finally said. Why not? But instead of taking the thermos closer to her, she reached for the one further away, slowly, deliberately, like she was choosing an apple at the farmer's market. She poured a little into the lid and drank it down. 5 minutes later, she was hunched over on the bench, greenish and sweating. Mom, you okay? Just dizzy, she whispered, trying to stand. Her knees buckled. Then the usual chorus, get her water. Where's the first aid kit? Laura already had her phone out. I'm calling 911. While I held Mom's shoulders, she kept mumbling, don't scare the girls. Please don't scare the girls. 5 minutes later, paramedics were strapping her onto a stretcher. I'll go with her, Laura said, grabbing her purse. You stay with the kids. Neither of the girls ever drank that tea. There wasn't time. When the ambulance pulled away, I stood in the hallway with 2 little girls in sequin costumes who suddenly looked very small. Grandma will be fine, I told them, forcing a smile. Go dance. Everything's okay. The show went on. Music, applause, life pretending to be normal. I barely saw any of it. I kept thinking, maybe it was her blood pressure, her heart, God forbid, a stroke. The fact that she just drunk something right before collapsing didn't even register yet. Both girls danced beautifully. Katrina was radiant. She won. I was proud, plain and simple. Not smug, not finally. Just proud of my kid. The crowd clapped. Katrina grinned. And I kept thinking, I can't wait to tell Mom. She should have seen her. After the showcase, I called Laura to tell her Katrina had won. She paused, then said in a flat voice, Congratulations. I asked how Mom was, if I should come to Mercy General. No need, Laura said quickly. It was just her blood pressure. She's fine, resting now. So I took both girls home, Katrina and Sophie. The 2 thermoses were still in my bag, buried under costumes and trophy ribbons. I had no idea that one of them held the evidence that would rewrite our entire family history. Laura came for Sophie late that night. She looked exhausted, eyes red. "How's Mom?" I asked. "Blood pressure spike," she said, speaking fast, eyes on the floor. "They're keeping her for observation. Maybe 2 days." I didn't push. Pressing Laura never got you anything but attitude. "And you?" I asked. "You okay?" "I'm fine," she said, biting her lip. "Thanks for watching, Sophie." I offered her tea. She refused. Stood there awkwardly, like she'd forgotten why she came. Her eyes landed on the 2 thermoses still sitting on the kitchen counter. She ran her fingers over one, traced the lid. "Maybe I should take them," she said without looking at me. "Give them back to Mom. The girls didn't drink her wellness blend this time, right?" She sounded almost sentimental, like she felt bad for Mom, so eager to help and ending up in the hospital herself. That's exactly how I took it. "No need," I said. "I'll handle it." "And no, they didn't drink any." She nodded but didn't move. Stood another few seconds staring at the thermoses, then gave me a quick, nervous glance, called Sophie, and left. The next day, I went to Mercy General. Mom was pale but awake, propped up in bed. "Hey," I said. "How are you feeling?" "Better," she said, smiling too brightly. "Just blood pressure, you know. Getting old." She kept her eyes slightly off mine, fingers fussing with the blanket like they were searching for something to hold. "Doctors say I'll be home soon," she added quickly. "I just overreacted." I nodded, but something felt off. Her smile was too tight. Her voice stretched thin. When I was a kid, whenever Mom lied, she'd squint like the light bothered her. She was doing it now. Why is she acting so strange? I thought. Then worse. Maybe it's serious and they're hiding it from me. I should talk to her doctor. "Okay," I said. "I'll check in with." "Why?" she snapped, head jerking up. "I just want to know what's going on." "Everything's fine, Katrina. Don't start drama." "Right. In our family, everything's always fine." The doctor was young, polite, the kind who could deliver terrible news in a calm voice. "Your mother's stable," he said, eyes on the monitor instead of me. "No immediate danger." But her reaction was unusual. It looks like some kind of intoxication, though we don't know from what yet. "Do you know what she ate or drank before this happened?" "She had her herbal tea," I said. "Homemade blend." He nodded slowly. "Could you bring a sample? We'll run a toxicology screen. Takes a couple of days, but we'll rule things out." I gripped my bag with both hands. Of course. Then a terrible thought hit me. "Doctor," I said quietly, "what if a child had drunk that tea? My daughter, she's 9. That tea was meant for her." He stopped typing. Looked at me. "A child?" "Yes. My mom made it specifically for her. And for my niece." His voice suddenly became firm. "Then please bring it in immediately. If there are active compounds, a child could become very sick." "How sick?" "Anywhere from extreme drowsiness to loss of consciousness. In severe cases, respiratory issues, even cardiac complications." He paused. "But that's just in general. Bring the sample. We'll check everything." "And you'll tell me the results?" "Yes. As her mother and the one requesting the test, you'll be notified as soon as it's ready." I thanked him and walked out, knees weak. The lucky tea was no longer a family ritual. It was evidence. When I stopped by Mom's room again, she was pretending to read a magazine. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "Doctor says you got off easy." "See?" She smiled. "You worry too much." I looked at her and thought, it can't be. This is just a ridiculous coincidence. They won't find anything. There's no way Mom would ever hurt her own granddaughter. That same day, I took both thermoses to the hospital lab. Before I handed them over, I examined them closely. One smelled of herbs, honey, and something vaguely medicinal, sharp, chemical. The next 2 days, I drifted around the house like a sleepwalker. I kept thinking, What if Katrina had actually drunk what her grandmother handed her? At night, I'd watch my daughter breathe and catch myself flinching at the smell of honey. On the second day, I cracked. I drove to Mom's house under the pretext of checking her mail, watering her plants. The house was silent, sealed tight like a tomb. The kitchen smelled of medicine. Jars lined the shelves, labels like for heart health, sleep support, nerve calm. A whole pharmacy without instructions. Among them, one jar with no label at all. And beside it, a small spiral notebook with a soft purple cover. I opened it. Lists of herbs. Numbers. Pencil notes in Mom's handwriting. Morning, 2 drops. Evening, 1. K, half dose. No names, just letters. But that single K was enough to make my stomach drop. It couldn't mean Katrina, could it? My hands moved on their own. I pulled out my phone, snapped photos of the pages, not even sure why, just in case I ever needed to remember what I'd seen. Click. 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 The notebook went back exactly where it had been, like I'd never touched it. Back then, I still told myself it was just Grandma being obsessively organized. Her little system. Not what it really was. When the doctor finally called, I didn't recognize his voice at first. "We got the results," he said. The drink contained a sedative compound in a concentration that's unsafe for children. Even for an adult, especially one on medication, it could cause a strong reaction. He spoke calmly, but my hands went ice cold. And if a 9-year-old had drunk it? I asked. There would have been serious complications. Best case, loss of consciousness. Worst case. He stopped. "Let's just say it's a good thing we are talking in the past tense. We'll send you the full report." I thanked him and hung up. The kitchen hummed with silence. Katrina was in the living room watching cartoons, laughing. And I just stood there staring at my phone, realizing the word Mom would never sound the same again. My head was a mess. Only late that night, after Katrina fell asleep, I sat in the kitchen and tried to line up my thoughts, make some kind of sense of it all. Mom used to bake pies, host Sunday dinners, repeat that family is everything. Meanwhile, she'd spent her whole life sorting people into categories, the gifted ones and the reliable ones. Laura was promising. I was steady, like weather. No storms, but no sunshine either. I'd helped them both a lot over the years. Topped up Mom's pension, paid her insurance and property taxes. When Laura's Civic suddenly needed a new transmission, I covered that too. Nothing heroic. Just what you do when you have a solid job. I'm an architect. I'd send them money, buy what they needed, and forget about it. Mom treated it like her due. Laura pretended not to notice. I didn't even want to think it, but the thought wouldn't go away. She could have done it. She could have slipped something into my daughter's tea so Sophie could win. We were both divorced, but I could afford to put Katrina in a real dance academy. Costumes, private lessons, competition fees, it all added up. Sophie danced in the free after-school program at the rec center. The difference hung in the air like smoke. Mom sighed about it constantly. "You should think about how much money you waste on sequins instead of family." Laura stayed quiet, but I knew it stung, me being the one who could. I'd never thought it mattered until I realized how expensive envy becomes when it's dressed up as love. Both girls were talented. Everyone said so. Maybe that's why Mom decided to level the playing field. I remembered how twice in the past year, Katrina had gotten sick right before major competitions. Once with a stomach ache. Another time dizzy, weak, barely able to stand. It passed by morning, and we never went to the doctor. We thought it was something she ate. Bad luck. Stress. Maybe nerves. Even Grandma's tea hadn't helped. And then I remembered our last conversation before the showcase. I'd turned down Mom's request for money. Said the new costume for Katrina had been pricey. She'd gotten offended. Said, "Right. Everything goes to the stage now." At the time, I laughed it off. Now those words sounded like a warning I'd ignored. 2 days later, they discharged Mom. I told everyone I was going over to help around the house. In reality, I was checking up on her. I already had the lab report. Sedative compound, concentration unsafe for children. Polite phrasing always sounds worse than the blunt version. The house was quiet in that familiar, heavy way. Mom looked okay, just a shade paler than usual. I offered to make lunch. She waved me off. "Don't bother," she said, and went to the bedroom. When the door closed, I finally let myself look around, not as a daughter this time, but as someone who knows there's a secret in the room. I started going through the kitchen shelves. There it was, the same unmarked jar I'd seen before. I opened it. Not tea. A dark powder with a sharp chemical smell. Not from a pharmacy, more like metal dust mixed with herbs. I scooped a little into a plastic bag I'd brought with me. Felt ridiculous, like a detective in jeans. "What are you doing?" Her voice came from the doorway, and I almost dropped the jar. I turned. She stood there in her bathrobe, eyes flat. "Taking a sample," I said. "I want to know what this is." "Why?" "Because the tea you made for Katrina, and accidentally drank yourself, sent you to the hospital. They found something dangerous in it." I slipped the bag into my pocket, pulled the lab report from my purse, and placed it on the table. She looked at it, skimmed a line or two, snorted. "Nonsense. They love finding danger in everything. I use the same herbs as everyone. Chamomile, lemon balm, honey." "Chamomile doesn't put people in the hospital," I said. She looked at the jar, then back at me. "You really think I did this on purpose?" "Jesus, Katrina. I probably mixed up the jars. I have dozens of them. I can barely see the labels anymore. You think I wanted to poison my own granddaughter?" "I don't think anything," I said. "I just want to know what's in that jar." I lifted it again and felt the bottom stick to my palm. Some leftover glue. Under the shelf lay a torn label. I held it to the jar. The edges matched perfectly. "Oh, look. Here's the label," I said. "Want to read what it says?" I read aloud. "Not for children. For external use only." So yeah, not exactly chamomile. Someone had washed the jar, scrubbed off the sticker, and parked it here with the rest of the herbs. I took out my phone and snapped a photo. Mom watched, face dark. "You're paranoid," she said. "These labs call everything toxic. They don't know half of what they're talking about." She grabbed the jar, turned it in her hands. "I assume I used this one," she snapped. "And even if I did, it's probably for joint pain or something. I don't remember." She dropped the report onto the table between us. It landed like a wall. "You could have just asked. No, you had to turn this into a circus." I didn't answer. Right then, the doorbell rang. Mom went to open it. Laura walked in with a bag of groceries, all concern and fake brightness. "Mom, how are you feeling?" "Alive," Mom said dryly. "Your sister thinks I'm a murderer." Laura's smile froze. She turned to me. "What's going on?" "Taking a sample," I said, "to find out what this powder actually is. Here, read this." I handed her the lab report. "That's what they found in the tea Mom made for Katrina." Laura skimmed it way too fast, barely pretending to read, then looked up, already defensive. "Katrina, seriously, it's just herbs. Mom buys everything from the health food store." She said it too easily, too rehearsed, like someone who already knew the story. "Exactly," Mom jumped in. "Everything's store-bought, all natural. I just got the jars mixed up." "Right," Laura nodded quickly. "You know how she is. She's got a million of those." I looked at them both. Two women. Same fear. Different masks. Mom was protecting herself. Laura was protecting the illusion of a family. "Fine," I said. "Let the lab decide. If it's harmless, great." Mom shot up from her chair. "And if it's not, then I made a mistake. I'm old, Katrina. It happens. But accusing your own mother of wanting to hurt a child, that's cruel." "I'm not accusing anyone," I said. "I just don't want anyone drinking from your thermoses again." "Do what you want," she said, turning away. "Just don't be surprised when there's no family left." Laura put a hand on her shoulder. "Mom, don't get upset. It's bad for your heart." Then she turned that same disapproving look on me. "How can you treat her like this? She just got out of the hospital. I looked at Mom, pale, trembling, and at Laura, holding her like a bodyguard in a family drama no one asked for. I'm really sorry this is happening to us, I said. And for a second, I almost believed them. Maybe they were right. Maybe I was overreacting. Mom could have mixed up the jars, the doses. Her eyesight's bad. Her hands shake. It happens. People make mistakes. Maybe this whole thing really was a stupid accident, and I just spun it into something monstrous in my head. I wanted to believe them so badly, because they're my family, because I still love them in some way. And just when I started forgiving myself for overreacting, I reached for my purse and knocked over a stack of magazines on the windowsill. They hit the floor with a slap, and something thin slid out from underneath. A small notebook with a worn cover. I bent down to pick it up, and Mom's voice cut through the air, sharp, panicked. Don't touch that. It's mine. Give it back. She sounded too scared. I opened the notebook where a bookmark was sticking out. Read a few lines. And froze. 3 dates. I knew them by heart. The dates of Katrina's big dance competitions over the past year. The last one, just recently, Spotlight Dreams. The other 2, the exact days Katrina got sick and couldn't perform. Sophie had won both times. Next to each date, numbers that looked like doses, followed by Mom's handwriting. Notes about timing and effects. Given evening before, stomach upset next day. Given morning of, weakness, dizziness, lasts 24 hours. And under the most recent one, before performance, sleepiness. That one hit hardest because Mom had offered Katrina tea that morning, not at home, but right before the showcase, backstage. What is this? I whispered. My voice barely worked. Mom reached for the notebook. Those are my recipes. Notes for herbal blends, so I remember how they work. I shook the open page in front of her. And these lines? These exact days when Katrina was sick? What's that? She glanced once and snapped. You're imagining things. Those notes have nothing to do with Katrina. I was just trying to help the girls. I'd had enough. Help. You wanted to help Sophie a little more, didn't you? You gave Katrina tea that made her sick so Sophie could win. I turned to Laura. You knew, didn't you? Mom clutched her chest, gasping. Oh, I don't feel well, she said weakly, looking at Laura. She's accusing us of God knows what. Stop it, Laura snapped, grabbing Mom's arm and steering her toward the couch. You're insane, Katrina. We didn't do anything. Then she lunged at me, trying to snatch the notebook. Give it here. I dodged. No. I'm taking this to someone who can actually read what it means. They both glared at me, rage, fear, guilt, all tangled together. You're going to the police? Against your own mother? Laura hissed. I don't know, I said honestly. Depends on what they find in that stuff you fed my child. Mom sank onto the couch. You twist everything, she said, her voice hollow. I never meant harm. I just wanted everyone to be happy. I miscalculated, that's all. She started crying quietly. No theatrics. Just the sound of air breaking. Laura stood beside her, white-knuckling her purse strap. Please, she said. Don't do anything rash. Let's just talk. We've talked, I said. Now I need answers. I slipped the notebook into my bag and met Mom's eyes. I'm not accusing you, I said. I just won't let your accidents happen on schedule anymore. Then I left. The next day, I brought the sample back to the hospital lab. Told them it was related to the earlier case. They promised results by the next morning. They called right on time. It's the same compound we found in the tea, the doctor said. Very dangerous for a child in higher doses. Even for an adult with underlying conditions, it can cause severe reactions. I thanked him. No questions. Just asked for the written report. After that, it wasn't my job anymore. It was the police's. Let them figure out exactly how much danger my family had poured into my daughter's cup. I gathered everything, the reports, the photos, the notebook, Mom's planner, and went to the Riverside police station. The officer on duty looked about 50, with the kind of calm only people who've seen too much can pull off. He listened, flipped through the papers, asked a few questions, and said they'd investigate. On my way out, I noticed my hands were shaking, not from fear, but from disgust. At people. At bloodlines. At everything that's supposed to protect you and instead becomes the threat. That night, Katrina asked if she could visit Grandma. No, I said. Why not? Grandma's busy. With what? Sorting herbs. She nodded, satisfied, and went back to her tablet. And I thought, maybe for once, someone in this family really will start sorting things out. Not herbs, conscience. Then I did what I should have done long ago. I shut my wallet. No drama. No speeches. Just cold, methodical clicks in my online banking app. Cancelled the monthly pension top-ups. The utility payments. The extra health insurance auto-pay. I didn't tell her anything. When the money stopped showing up, she'd figure it out. The call started a few days later, right after she'd been summoned for questioning. Her tone was sharp, hysterical. What are you doing? How could you call the police on your own mother? This is absurd. I would never hurt Katrina on purpose. Do you want me to die in prison? Mom, I said evenly. Katrina got sick twice before big competitions. I just want specialists to figure out why. You're ungrateful, she whispered dramatically. Good thing your father isn't alive to see this shame. Pause. And the money. Did you stop the transfers? Yes. Fine. Her whisper snapped into a shriek. I don't need anything from you. You'll be sorry. They drag me in for interrogations. My nerves can't take it. If I get sick and die, you'll know it's your fault. Then came Laura. Same pitch, different voice. Take it back. Withdraw the complaint. You're sending our mother to jail. She's old. She'll die there. There was no remorse in their words. No doubt. Just panic, not for Mom's soul, but for their comfort. All I heard was, take it back. Take it back. Take it back. But I couldn't unsee what I'd already seen. The investigation crawled forward. Mom wasn't arrested, just signed a no-travel agreement. Detectives kept circling the same questions. When did you first notice the child feeling ill? Any witnesses from previous incidents? It felt like nothing was moving. And the calls never stopped. Mom and Laura took turns, yelling, pleading, calling me ungrateful, threatening that I'd have to live with this. I answered less and less. Then not at all. 10 days later, the investigator called. The case has been reclassified, he said. From accidental poisoning to intentional harm to a minor. Why? What changed? I asked, not expecting an answer. He wasn't supposed to tell me. Confidentiality and all that. But he hesitated, then said quietly, Your mother admitted she gave Katrina the substance on purpose, as a sedative. Said the kid didn't need those dance competitions anyway and shouldn't get so worked up. He paused, probably waiting for me to react. I couldn't. There was just a hum in my head. She tried to walk it back later, he went on. Said she misspoke, mixed up the jars, but words are words. Now it's a criminal case. She really said that. I finally managed to croak. My voice didn't feel like mine. Not needed for who? Sophie? She didn't name anyone, he said quickly, then softer. Look, I've already told you more than I should. Thank you for telling me, I whispered. He paused again. I'm sorry, he said, and hung up. I sat there with the phone in my hand, staring into nothing. It hurt. Maybe because deep down, I'd still been hoping it was a mistake. Mixed up jars. Poor eyesight. Anything but intent. But once he said it out loud, once I knew she'd confessed, it all collapsed inside me. The worst thing I'd feared turned out to be true. My mother had wanted to hurt my child. Even the investigator, someone who'd probably seen it all, had felt sorry for me. The rest went fast. The trial wrapped up 3 months later. The prosecutor pushed for real time, but Mom's age and fragile health bought her 2 years probation and an order to stay away from Katrina. Laura walked free. No solid proof she'd been involved. A year's gone by since then. Mom lives alone now, sick, broke, angry at the world. Laura and Sophie live separately. They fight a lot. The neighbors talk. I heard Sophie quit dancing. Laura blames me for everything. Katrina and I don't talk to any of them. We're doing fine. She's dancing again, laughing again, believing that life doesn't always have a catch. Sometimes I watch her spinning in front of the mirror, and I think, maybe this is what happiness really looks like. Just a kid, alive and smiling. Once in a while, I look at an old photo. Mom holding Laura's hand in one, mine in the other. Sunday brunch at Denny's. We are all smiling. There's still warmth there, in that memory. The past doesn't vanish. It just stops breathing the same air as you. But there are no jars of herbs in my house anymore. And no tea either.